Welcome back to the grind of the 1%. In this video I want to discuss how I changed my racing approach and practicing approach in the simulator, which all in all helped me get some pretty good progress.
What? It's just an ordinary... Oh my goodness!
Which also led to some breakthroughs. So let's start in the beginning. In my last video I mentioned how I decided to start reading a book about race driving fundamentals, and I finished reading that book almost immediately. I made notes and reread some important sections. However, I was surprised how I already knew a lot of things mentioned in the book. This had some positive and negative drawbacks. On the one hand, since I didn't learn anything substantially new, I felt like I was on the right track to unlocking the final few tenths of lap time, which is good, but on the other hand, I couldn't find how to unlock those final tenths, so I was a bit lost, and I still am to some degree. But I just said I had some breakthroughs, so what are they? Well, it all had to do with the shift in mindset, which changed the way that I was training, and I did see quite a bit of improvement, which has gotten me closer to my goal. What I did was start playing around with different cars. As you can see, I went back to GT3s, and I experimented intentionally with all three different types of engine layouts. My mission was to feel the differences of each car and adapt and then do similar lap times in each one. So I tried the Mustang, I tried the Ferrari, and I tried the Porsche GT3. All in all, I was getting a pretty different feeling from each car.
It almost feels like I'm feathering on the brakes. Initially it feels much more planted, and then also it's a bit more eager to turn. Alright, this car feels fun to drive. You can add more brake pressure compared to the other two that I've driven.
Some were very comfortable for me to drive, and others were completely different from what I was used to. But that was the reason that I had to drive them, because each category kind of showed me my weakness. Because I was good in some cases with the Porsche, for instance, because I was trail braking deep into the corner. But with that, I was kind of making myself brake too deep sometimes and understeer. But with the other two cars, especially with the Mustang, I needed to lift the brakes. I needed to reduce brake pressure by a lot in order to make the corner and subtract the maximum amount of rotation, in mid-corner especially. So I noticed that, and that's how I was able to fix my trail braking. Obviously, this changes from car to car, but the more I get exposed to different styles in driving, the more I feel like I'm gonna be relying more in feeling and less in repetition of how to do something. So let me get back on track. Up to that point, I was mostly used to the Porsche Cup, so switching back to GT3s overall felt so numb. I could barely feel when the cars were understeering. Not to mention that trying to drive the Mustang, which was a front-engine car, after obsessively driving the Porsche Cup, which was a rear-engine car, was a pain in the But I enjoyed the challenge, and I am happy to say that I did manage to extract pace primarily from the Mustang, funnily enough, which was my main car for my next race week, specifically in Portimao. What's amazing here is that this pace with the Mustang only came by me practicing for a week. And get this, during the race week, I barely did any practice laps. I went immediately into qualifying and my pace was there. This has never happened to me before. And I can't say I changed anything in my driving, but mindset-wise, I decided not to overthink things and just feel the car's grip. You see the connection here? I tried out multiple GT3 cars trying to feel their differences, and I decided to solely rely on feeling it even when I was practicing with my main car. And that was enough, funnily enough. I will say, however, that it was, for me personally, very necessary for me to go through the phases where I was sticking solely on one car and learning one track to make sure that I completely understand the driving fundamentals. But I think that I've reached a point where I no longer need to limit myself with one car anymore. If anything, I need to expand my horizons so I'm able to rely mostly on feeling and not so much on repetition. And I feel like that's the road that is going to push me even further and help me reach my goal. I think I've learned what I could learn from my first method of practicing, and now I'm moving on to something new. So that was my new approach. Don't overcomplicate it and just feel the car. I wasn't even looking at my delta times half the time. And I think that actually helped quite a bit because I wasn't really anxious about maybe messing up a corner and seeing red in my delta. I wasn't fearful at all. I was just feeling the car and being certain that I know what I'm doing. And you can see through these race highlights that this approach worked. I was not far off the pace, and sometimes I was even matching it. I might not be driving against any absolute top performance sim racers, but to me it's still impressive to be able to keep up with 4K and 5K drivers. One last thing I want to mention about this new approach: by not doing that many solo practice sessions, it helped me to actively search for grip, rather than being used to a specific track conditions and then driving based on muscle memory. Don't get me wrong though, I still believe that solo practicing is very, very valuable, but for my current situation, it must be approached a little bit differently. At the moment, my fear is that I get too used to a specific car and track combo, and then I will limit my abilities to just that. In the past, what I would catch myself doing sometimes is starting off I would be feeling the car's grip, but then I would gradually move away from it as I was over-analyzing telemetry, emphasis on over-analyzing, and then trying to match my inputs perfectly to what the faster driver was doing. This was great to set a fastest lap, but only in those specific conditions. It was not a good overall approach in racing, and I realize this now. Anyways, enough of that. So, my next moves moving forward. I will increase my adaptability and search for grip in other car categories as well. This is in order for me to spot more of my weaknesses, because some cars are oversaturated with they have some special quirks that are going to help me spot different types of driving inputs that I do and help me realize if I'm overdoing them or not doing them enough, or, if it's wrong or right, basically. I will try out Formula races as well. I will go back and try the new Porsche Cup as well. I will race MX-5s, GT3s, you name it. All this so that I have to feel the car, correct any mistake that I do, which I didn't realize in other categories, and this is going to help me get faster. I'm pretty certain of it. Each car needs a different driving style, and I will have to adapt if I ever want to reach the top 1% in sim racing. Okay, I think it's also worth mentioning that, I'm not gonna lie, as I go I realize that this goal that I set for myself is really, really, really difficult. The amount of competition that I get in these top splits, which aren't even the most difficult top splits, is insane. And I realize that as I keep moving forward, it's gonna get even harder. I realize that. I don't care though. I will keep going. It's something that I really want to do, so I'm not planning on stopping. So if this mission of mine sounds cool to you and you want to support my journey, consider subscribing to the channel and liking, sharing, commenting my videos to boost the algorithm, and I appreciate it greatly. Also, feel free to join my Discord server if you want. We can chat, or if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to ask me there. Honestly, the server right now is kind of dead, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.